Billy Graham once said, "A good father is one of the most unsung, unpraised, unnoticed, and yet one of the most valuable assets in our society." Hi, my name is Kathy Daniels, and Stanley was my dad, my hero, my cheerleader, and I was his princess.
My dad, his name was Stanley Richard Silsby. He was born in Weberville, Michigan in 1934 to Forrest and Sarita Silsby. He was the fourth of 6 children, and from the time he was 8 weeks old, he was in and out of the hospital quite a lot.
His mom was really small, and he was a twin, and he would have had a twin brother, but his brother died at birth. And so when he was born, his feet were kind of twisted a bit, and then the day they called it club feet.
His feet were turned up and in. He's kind of like pigeon-toed, but through God's grace, he was the one that made it through the womb, and he suffered for it with his feet.
I know it was really hard on him, and it was difficult. He was in a lot of pain a lot, when he would do things, and a lot of times he wouldn't complain. We wouldn't be who we are, if these things didn't happen to us. So these things, they all happen, and I don't know why, and I hated that he was in pain, but like anybody will tell you, he still did what he did, and he didn't want to stop.
He never really let that define his character. He always, he just lived how he wanted to live. When he was young, he went out and got a paper route, and he always used to tell this story. He got a paper route and saved up money, and he bought himself, I think it was a 46 or a 48 Indian Chief motorcycle. And yeah, how cool is that?
He used to tell me stories how he loved that bike. He got a lot of tickets on it. He told me he couldn't hardly get it out of second gear without breaking the speed limit, because the speed limit was 25 through town, and just shifting from first to second, you had to be doing 30 to get it into that gear.
I remember he used to drive like everywhere fast. And I was always like, when we come around the mountain, he'd give me rides from like Napa to coming up to visit him or something like that. If we all would go, I'd ride with him sometimes. And I remember he took a corner and I was like, what are you doing? Like, are you really driving like this? like why? And just all kinds of stuff like that he used to do. Like he'd get in the turn lane, and then the light would turn green, and then he'd realize he was in the turn lane. He's like, oh, forget this. And he would just cut people off, like, well, get out of my way, and just pull. He'd do stuff like that all the time. So, he taught me to drive safe.
Which is something that I inherited through my mom as well. So, thanks, Grandpa. Way to go.
I guess what I would like you to know about my dad was that he was a humble and honest, God-loving man. And I wouldn't have wanted anyone else to be my daddy.
Since I've been involved in his life, he's been dad. He's been grandpa. He's, been my kids' joy. And the boys they love him. And it's loaded with memories, the Christmases, and Grandma and Grandpa always buy them nice things, and they always had a pile of things for them to do, and going to visit Grandma and Grandpa, riding the go-karts, and they had a blast, and Grandpa made sure that they did.
And like for 12 years, we'd come from Napa, the whole family, and as I continued to have kids, now with 5 sons, I know that my mom always at Christmas time was such a huge event with her. And she didn't make a lot of money, my dad didn't make a lot of money, but they made sure all the grandkids had gifts, and nice gifts. And they went out of their way to make a wonderful home in Lower Lake. We were truly blessed to be involved in that.
When we were little, it was Christmas, and I was the youngest at the time. Now there are many more after me, but at the time I was the only girl and I was the youngest, and I always wanted to follow around Stanley and James and Matt. and I always was trying to keep up with them, and I was a total tomboy. And one Christmas, Grandma and Grandpa got me, I don't even remember what, but the boys all got these Desert Storm pocket knives, and they each open theirs up, Stanley and then Matt and then James, and I get my present and I'm like super excited because I think I'm gonna get a Desert Storm pocket knife too because all the cousins got it. And I opened my gift and I don't remember what it was, but I think it was like a doll or something that I was just really not excited about, and I was just sad. I was just like devastated, and Grandpa could tell how sad I was, and he goes, "Michelle, I want you to go in my room, right? Look on my nightstand and see what you find there." So I ran back there, and it was the Desert Storm pocket knife that he had bought for himself. And he gave me his because he knew how important it was to me to not have the girly thing and to have the things that my cousins and my brother had.
I've known Stan Silsby for many, many years. I've known him before I ever knew that he had 5 male grandchildren. That's when I thought there was only one Stan Silsby. And I'm just really happy to know him and his wife and now his family.
When I came to the church, Stanley Sr. and his wife were very wonderful people. I didn't know them at that time. I was actually coming back to the Seventh-day Adventist Church from the Bay Area. And it was amazing. They befriended us real fast, me and my wife. Very kind people. They invited us over to their house for dinner. And from that point on, we struck up a really good friendship.
Stan Sr. and Kathy were good friends. I remember having some good times down at their place down in Lower Lake, and some picnics and Christmas dinner. We just had a lot of fun, and we miss Kathy and Stan.
I didn't know Grandpa Silsby really well. He was coming to this church when I first started coming to this church, which was many years ago. But the thing that I do want to say to the family is what a blessing they have been to our church family. And I have to think, although I didn't know Grandpa really well, that he was somewhere at the bottom of their participation in our church, of the values that they hold, and the blessing that every single one of the family members have been to our church family.
And I'm looking forward to a long, long future, but if not, then I'll be able to thank God and shake his hand, hug him, and hopefully be right there with my mom and dad, the rest of our family.